Is a message from a person who really wants to be PM one day.
Hello, this is your wannabe Prime Minister of Australia. Have you ever wondered how a democracy can become a dictatorship? Well, I'm going to explain it to you in this video. So, first, what is a dictatorship? So, a dictatorship can come in many forms, but it's generally the rule of the one or the few over the many, in simple terms. You've seen them on the news, they are suppressing people's rights, invading countries, and people generally don't like them. So, how is it that a democracy can become one? Well, I'm going to explain it to you in this video. So, it was at this point in the video that things went wrong for me. My baby was crying, there were birds in the background, someone was mowing their lawn, the sun had shifted, it messed up the lighting, I think a filter turned on, my camera moved. It was a mess, and no matter how much I edited it, it just looked horrible, and it wouldn't have been something I would have been proud of if I just posted it. So instead, I am going to narrate what I basically said. The reason why I chose not to refilm is because I am nervous in front of the camera, and I did try and refilm, but I just got more nervous. I was stumbling over my words, and instead this is much more easier for me. Not to worry though, because it's not going to be boring. Instead, I a dictatorship is through political polarization. Now, this usually happens in two-party systems, but can happen in a multi-party system. But basically, the way it happens is when the parties no longer want to cooperate. This allows for violent and extremist parties to take over. For example, in Nazi Germany. Well before the Nazis were elected, Germany was multi-partied, but they were also polarized and had weak institutions. This is what allowed, well, part of the reason why the Nazis took over. The third way a democratic country can become a dictatorship is through apathetic and alienated voters. So what does that mean? It's basically when the voters withdraw from the political process. They stop voting, watching the news, look to propaganda, and stop protesting. Politicians will then start introducing non-democratic laws. They usually start by taking away rights from minorities, followed by voter suppression and freedom of speech. The perfect example of this is Hungary. In 2010, Hungary slowly made its way to becoming a dictatorship. The people there stopped participating in politics, they were watching a lot of propaganda, and they stopped protesting, which is sort of an oversimplification because there were protesters, but not as many as there should have been Again, this is very oversimplified, but basically what it's important to know is that the majority of the country really didn't seem to take notice as Viktor Orban, the Prime Minister of Hungary, started to introduce more and more non-democratic laws. The final nail in the coffin, though, was in 2020 when the Hungarian Prime Minister, again Viktor Orban, introduced laws that allowed him to remain in power indefinitely. Now, no one likes a dictatorship. And when we look at these examples, we kind of question ourselves and ask, why don't people do something, or can they do something? And it also, in a way, maybe feels like democracies turned into dictatorships overnight, when it's just not that simple. You see, if you're going to make a dictatorship, you sort of need more than one thing. Now, these are just 3 main ingredients that I named, but you kind of need other ingredients too, such as releasing propaganda, among other things. So it's not as easy as it seems, and that's good because it also means you can stop a democracy from becoming a dictatorship. That's right, you can stop it in its tracks before it becomes a dictatorship. Now, once it becomes a dictatorship, it's a lot harder to turn it back into a democracy. So, how do you stop a democracy from becoming a dictatorship? What steps can you take? Well, the first thing that you can do is embrace democracy. That means if you vote for Party B and someone else votes for Party A, you don't criticize them, you don't call them your enemy. Instead, you have healthy discussions and debates. The second thing that you do is research who you vote for and vote for small party. Now, researching who you vote for allows you to find someone who best represents you, and voting small party is a good way to assure that political polarization does not happen. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're probably thinking to yourself, wait a minute, Raquel, didn't you just say that the Nazis took over a multi-party system? And yes, I did say that, but you have to keep in mind that well before the Nazis took over, the political institutions of Germany at the time were very weak. So the basic takeaway is that political polarization is more likely to happen in 2-party systems, but far less likely to happen in multi-party systems. This is why researching who you want to vote for is important. It also kind of leads me to my next point. The Nazis at the time blamed the minorities. Don't blame minorities. If you want to protect your democracy, you cannot blame minorities. Minorities are the first to be picked on when becoming a dictatorship. Which kind of leads me to another thing. Don't vote for the strong man. Whatever you do, don't vote for the strong man. A strong man will blame minorities for the problems. They will say that they cause this problem, they cause that problem. They want to apparently save the country. They will make big promises but don't follow through. This is why research is important. It's so that way you can avoid the strongman. Know who's making promises and keeping them. That leads me to my next piece of advice. Watch the news. Pay attention to what people are saying and what they are doing. Go out to the streets and protest if you disagree with what the government is doing. So yeah, basically that's it for today. I hope you all learned something. Hopefully in the next video you'll be able to see me talk. And yeah, if you all learned something, please comment below and let me know what you think of the video. Like and subscribe. Bye bye.
This has been a message from your wannabe PM and brought to you by me and my hard work brains and resources you can look into that can be found in the comments. Like and subscribe.